Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today to do a follow-up to a video I'd made a couple of days ago from the time you're listening to this, maybe even in like a week and a half, something like that, but whatever, it was in the past. But it was about the whole situation with Matt Araiza, the dude who was drafted onto the Buffalo Bills as a punter and then was accused of gang, doing something. And it turns out that, he was never even there at the thing, and his entire career was ruined. So I found this interesting follow-up article from Outkick from May 11th. It says, Matt Araiza's case is a failure of journalism across most of sports media. It's by Mary Catherine Ham. That's why her name is right there. All right, so let's scroll down. So it's going to be kind of a recap. So if you listen to my other video, you'll know some of this already, or of course, if you're paying attention, it will be a recap as well, but we're still going to go over it so you get the full breadth of the situation right here. And this is him showing on the video in the bottom right. But article says, in the spring of 2022, Matt Araiza was a standout San Diego State kicker and a 6th-round NFL draft pick known as Punt God for his foot with a 50-yard average. That's damn good. It says, by August, Araiza was best known as the accused in a civil suit alleging the gang, along with 2 teammates, of an intoxicated 17-year-old at a Halloween party during his senior year of college. He was dropped by the Buffalo Bills during his rookie preseason after the allegations emerged. We now know that in December 22, prosecutors declined to bring charges against Araiza because they determined he was not at the party in question at the time of the alleged gang rape. And I just said the word, I shouldn't have said that, but that's what it is. So that's what happened. That's why I keep trying to avoid it. I'm going to try to avoid it here because it's just a icky word to say. So in 2023, where does Matt Araiza go to get his reputation and career back? It'd be great if he could. It says the case is another reminder that while the momentum of the hashtag #MeToo era rightly brought plenty of wrongdoing to light, it cannot mean abandoning due process. As Araiza, who has maintained his innocence and said any sexual contact he had with the accuser was consensual, fought allegations in 3 different courts: the court of public opinion, criminal, and civil arenas. As is often the case in the court of public opinion, there was very little reference to the idea that he might be innocent until proven otherwise. And remember, that's a foundational thing in this country, is that you are innocent until proven guilty. Otherwise, if you're guilty until proven innocent, you see what happens here, which is just people just lose everything in their lives, and then they're proven innocent, but they have this stain of being tainted as something that, in this guy's case, he never was, because he was never there. So let's keep going. It says, Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network called it scary that in reporting in the Bills preseason, she had been standing 4 feet from him for the entire broadcast. It is yucky and awful. Well, I think Cynthia Freeland owes Matt Araiza an apology because she just assumed he was something he wasn't. It was proven unequivocally that he was not there, so I think she should be reaching out to him and saying, I'm sorry for even saying this because it was a total lie. Jemele Hill, who is always one for bad takes, and not just bad, but extremely racist takes. She's of The Atlantic, which is not a great writer's thing. It's extremely far to the left. She was formerly of ESPN, somehow. Assumed Araiza's guilt. Of course she did, because he's, not a certain skin color, and criticized both San Diego State and law enforcement for not acting when the accuser reported her experience after the party. And Jemele Hill wrote, this is an embedded tweet from Twitter, says the police did nothing even though the teenager reported this occur within hours of it happening. The university did nothing until 7 months or so later, and now the Bills claim they knew nothing. Whole lot of doing nothing. This is also why women often resort to civil cases. Okay, so she just, like I said, she just assumed that he was guilty. Not even any kind of hey, wait a minute sort of thing, or let's let this play out, let's let all the facts come out. I don't know why that's not a thing anymore. Can we, after something happens, is it just possible for people to go, let's wait and see what happens? We need to see all the facts of the case. We shouldn't just rush to judgment, because in a case like this, someone's life was completely ruined by false allegations, and you have morons like Jemele Hill jumping on it and being like, oh no, he's guilty, he's just guilty. Because she's looking at it also from an extremely feminist point of view, which is just, he's a man, he's bad. So she's also, besides being an open racist, which she's not actually doing here for a change, she's also a misandrist. So there's that. So good for you, Jemele Hill, hitting all those check boxes. So as Araiza's accuser got national headlines for when the CBS Evening News aired a hidden identity interview with her. After noting Araiza was dropped by the Bills after the civil suit went public, the CBS reporter Lilia Luciano intoned, Araiza's accuser wonders why his career even got that far, before briefly noting at the end of the argument, or end of the segment, no criminal charges have been filed. Well, his career got that far because never happened, which is why nothing was reported. And by the way, Matt Araiza should sue the ever-loving shit out of this girl and her family, regardless of what the family had to do with it. I mean, she's a teenager. I mean, she's probably a few years older than that now. She's probably in her early 20s at this point. But this should be just they should, especially her, she should suffer the fate that he was going to get for this. Okay, like, she's the one that should have her life tainted, okay, forever for this, not him. Okay, and yeah, like, this kind of shit just pisses me off. Even if it went the other way, even if it was a dude doing it to a lady, same thing. This kind of crap pisses me off. So subheadline says prosecutors believe Araiza was not at the party when the alleged gang you-know-what took place. Says, now we know why no charges were filed. Prosecutors' investigation included 35 witness interviews and 4 terabytes, damn, that's a lot, of cell phone data obtained from partygoers with search warrants. Gee, I'm still looking at that 4 terabytes, and that's a whole, Jesus, okay. That's a real lot of information. As Araiza appears in none of the videos, according to prosecutors, and a witness says he left the party an hour before the taped encounters and at time of the alleged you-know-what. Okay. It says, in looking at the videos, the prosecutor tells the accuser in a transcript of December 22 meeting with her and her lawyer, I absolutely cannot prove any forcible sexual assault based on what happened. Her lawyer in the civil suit says that shouldn't matter. What the actual F? Says the videos do not prove that he was never present, that Matt Araiza was never present, just that the cameras did not capture his image during the few seconds each lasted, he wrote. No, I'd probably say that this means he's not there, dude. Yeah, okay. So this is a dude that's just kind of like, no. I know that he was just proven innocent, but I want him to be guilty, so he must still be guilty. So the article continues, civil cases carry a lower burden of proof than criminal cases, but Araiza is being asked to prove a negative, yeah, it's true, and a legal standard that no one, famous or not, man or woman, any color or creed, should be asked to meet. Call it the Kavanaugh standard. I guess we will. Yeah, so it's basically prove that you weren't at a place. You're like, how do you, what? Like, it's kind of like, prove that you weren't there at this time. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? So it says, many will argue as justification for the standard that figures like Araiza, who's male, white athlete. Araiza's, that's a Hispanic name, and he certainly looked Hispanic, but whatever. I guess, as we've seen with some other news reporting lately, that Hispanics are somehow now considered white, which you might want to tell them that. It says, they have long been given too much societal benefit of the doubt and leniency in the justice system. Certainly, sometimes that's true, but it was also the justification for ruining 3 other young men's lives over a party gone wrong. Oh, here comes the Duke thing. Yep, the 3 Duke lacrosse players were wrongfully accused of you-know-what in 2006, as much of media eagerly played along. It says Durham District Attorney Mike Nifong was later disbarred for lying about evidence in the case. Well, good. That's what should happen when stuff like that happens. The lawyer should be... if he's lying about stuff, he shouldn't have the job, and that's what happened. So this is a year after the incidents. The state attorney general called the case a tragic rush to accuse and a failure to verify serious allegations, and took the unusual step of declaring Reed Seligman, Colin Finnerty, and David Evans innocent of these charges. Well, good. That's what the conclusion should have been. So it says, remember the lessons learned from Duke and Brian Banks. I remember the name. I don't remember the situation. I don't remember if this article goes into... Oh, here it is. Yeah, it does go into the Brian Banks thing. Okay. It says, letting media coverage or prosecution of a case get ahead of the evidence according to the social justice demands of the parties involved doesn't make for good journalism or a good justice system. And a less well-known but tragic case of miscarried justice, excuse me. So another promising potential college and NFL talent was derailed in 2002. At the age of 16, Brian Banks, a California blue chip already recruited by USC's then head coach Pete Carroll, was falsely accused of you-know-what by classmate Juanetta Gibson. Despite proclaiming his innocence, Banks took a plea deal... a plea deal on the advice of his lawyer and served 5 years in prison and 5 years probation, while his accuser was awarded more than $750,000 in a suit against the school system. It says Gibson later contacted Banks via Facebook. He agreed to meet up with her, and she recanted her accusation in a recording captured by Banks and a private investigator. Good for you, sir. My God, it's about time. Like, that's a gut punch to that woman who made that false allegation. Okay, so it says Banks and the school system were able to claw back some of the payments made to the false accuser. Well, that's good, but probably not going to see that $750,000. The whole thing, at least. It says, but Banks was unable to claw back 10 years of his life. That's true. So he lost a decade. So it says Carroll gave him a shot at training camp for the Seahawks in 2012, and Banks later played briefly for the Atlanta Falcons before getting a job with operations in the NFL corporate offices. Probably because they were like, we should need to give him a job, otherwise he's going to sue the ever-loving crap out of us. Because the NFL probably had something to do with this in some way too, but whatever. It says he is now a motivational speaker with a biopic of his ordeal. Okay. It says the exonerations of Reed Seligman, Colin Finnerty, David Evans, and Brian Banks got a fraction of the coverage of their downfalls. That's very true. The bad stuff is always the stuff that you hear more about. It says I can only hope that now people will assess me on the facts and not what was falsely claimed in both the civil suit and in the press, Araiza told Pro Football Talk. If only it was a lesson the media could learn. Yep, that's 100% true. So at least I'm glad that this dude is innocent of something he was never there to have been able to do. So good. Obviously, if he did it, then he shouldn't be let go, but he clearly didn't. And this girl just, what I also read about this too, and I don't think I ended up mentioning this in my previous video on the situation. I think I actually just totally forgot to mention it, is that she was sleeping around with a bunch of dudes that night. Not that you should, just because she was whoring herself out doesn't mean she's automatically guilty, but it's like, or automatically on the bad side, but it's like, that's got to play into this a little bit, where she was just like, oh, this guy did, this guy, and this guy, and that guy. She probably didn't know who the hell she was accusing. And for the parents of that girl, get your kid in line. My God. What the hell is going on there? But anyway, now that he's basically ready to rock and roll with his life, hopefully the Bills can get him back and see. I don't even know if he'd want to do that, because how did the Bills release him when it was like there was no evidence that he was even there? Like, what kind of an investigation did they actually do? Because if you remember, they actually did, and it said they did an investigation, and that's why they let him go. But it was like, either you guys didn't do an investigation and the NFL pressured you to release him just because it was a whole Me Too type situation, or you guys didn't actually, or you didn't do anything. Like, what happened there? Or you have investigators that suck. Like, what is it? You need to fire them. So figure it out. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.